Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. This time, we're tackling habits head-on. Not just ditching the bad ones, but actually building the kind that, level us up in every part of life.
Mhm.
We're diving deep with Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Nice.
And I get it, you're busy, you want the good stuff fast. Think of this deep dive as your, cheat sheet to the book's most powerful insights. You ready to get into it?
Let's do it.
All right. So what's really cool about Atomic Habits, at least from what I've gathered so far, is that it kind of flips the script on how we think about success, right?
Uh-huh.
It's not like, poof, overnight transformation. It's about these tiny, almost unnoticeable changes we make every single day.
Yeah.
And Clear calls these atomic habits. They have a way of building on each other over time, like compound interest, and leading to some pretty amazing results.
Exactly. That's the core idea. It's not about making some big sweeping change. It's about those small, consistent actions that compound over time. Think about it like this. If you improve just 1% each day, by the end of the year, you'll be 37 times better than you were when you started.
Wow, 37 times. That's kind of mind-blowing when you put it that way.
Right. It's easy to dismiss those small actions like, hey, what difference does it really make if I hit snooze one more time? But those small choices, those little moments of inertia, they add up.
Okay, I'm starting to see the light here. But I got to be honest, I'm still a little skeptical.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you actually translate that 1% improvement into real-life results?
That's where Clear's framework comes in. One of the examples he uses in the book is the story of comedian Jerry Seinfeld. Apparently, Seinfeld's secret to becoming a better comic was to write a joke every single day, no matter what.
So it's not about sitting down and trying to write some killer stand-up routine in one go. It's about showing up consistently, even when you don't feel like it.
Exactly. And as Seinfeld kept writing jokes, day after day, his skills grew, his material got sharper, and his career took off. It's a simple but powerful illustration of how those small, consistent actions can build up to something extraordinary.
I can already see how this is starting to connect to my own goals. What if I applied this show up every day philosophy to, say, learning that new language I've been putting off, or finally getting back into playing the guitar?
That's exactly the point. Atomic Habits is all about giving us a framework for turning those I wish I could thoughts into actual sustainable habits.
Okay, so speaking of frameworks, I know Claire has his famous 4 laws of behavior change. These seem like they're kind of the core of the book, right?
Absolutely. Think of these laws as your cheat codes for habit change. They break down the process into 4 simple stages. And honestly, they can be applied to anything, from breaking a bad habit like procrastination to building a new one like daily meditation.
All right, I'm ready to unlock these cheat codes. Hit me with the first law.
The first law is make it obvious. It's all about recognizing how our environment influences our habits, often without us even realizing it. Have you ever noticed how walking into your kitchen almost automatically makes you want to open the fridge, even if you're not actually hungry?
Wait, are you watching me? Because that is so true. It's like I'm drawn to the fridge like a moth to a flame.
It's not just you, it's how our brains are wired. Certain cues trigger predictable responses. So to build a good habit, we need to make the cue for that habit super obvious. Clear suggests a technique called habit stacking, where you attach a new habit to an existing one.
So, if I want to start meditating every morning, I could stack that onto my morning coffee routine. After I pour my coffee, I will meditate for 5 minutes.
Exactly. By linking the new habit to something you already do consistently, you're basically piggybacking on that existing neural pathway and making it easier for the new habit to take hold.
Okay, that's actually pretty brilliant. I can see how that would make it way more likely that I actually follow through with the meditation.
And the make it obvious law isn't just about adding cues for good habits. It's also about removing cues for bad ones.
So if I'm trying to cut back on social media, maybe I hide those apps on my phone so I'm not constantly tempted to scroll. Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. Clear calls this environment design, and it's about shaping your surroundings to support your desired habits and make those unwanted ones less accessible.
I'm already getting some light bulb moments here. This is great.
Okay.
Okay, let's keep the momentum going. What's the second law?
All right, so the second law is all about motivation. Make it attractive. Our brains are naturally wired to gravitate toward things that feel good and avoid things that feel, well, not so good. To make a habit stick, we need to make it appealing, almost like we can't resist.
Okay, I get that. But how do you make cleaning the bathroom attractive? I mean, I don't think even the best marketing campaign could pull that off.
Well, maybe not that specifically, but Clear has a cool technique called temptation bundling.
Okay, tell me more. I'm intrigued.
It's about pairing something you want to do with something you need to do. Like, let's say you love listening to your favorite podcast, maybe even this one, but you struggle to find time to exercise. What if you only allowed yourself to listen to that podcast while you're working out?
Okay, that's actually genius. Suddenly, the workout isn't this thing I'm dreading, it's something I actually look forward to.
Exactly. You're basically tricking your brain into associating the habit you need to build with something enjoyable, which makes you way more likely to stick with it.
I'm really starting to see how these laws build on each other. First, make the cue obvious, then make the action itself appealing. I like it. What's next?
The third law is all about effort, or rather minimizing it. It's make it easy. I mean, we're all way more likely to follow through with something if it feels simple and effortless, right?
Oh, tell me about it. This speaks to my soul. If something feels too complicated, I am the queen of procrastination, or just giving up altogether.
Clear totally gets that. One of his most practical tips is the 2-minute rule. The idea is to break down any new habit into a version that takes less than 2 minutes to do.
Okay, I have a feeling I'm going to love this.
So instead of saying, I'm going to clean the entire house, you start with, I'm going to clean the kitchen counter for 2 minutes. Or instead of, I'm going to write a novel, you start with, I'm going to write for 5 minutes.
Ah, I see. Because even those tiny actions create momentum, right? It's like getting the ball rolling. You're not overwhelmed by this huge task. You just take a small step.
Exactly. And often, once you've taken that small initial step, you find yourself wanting to keep going. It's like breaking through that initial inertia.
Okay, this is brilliant. I'm already making a mental list of all the things I can apply this to. Okay, so we've got make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, bring on the final law.
The fourth and final law is make it satisfying. We're more likely to repeat behaviors that feel rewarding, even in a small way. Think about it's like that dopamine hit we get from checking things off our to-do list or seeing those likes roll in on social media, right?
Yeah, totally. So how do we harness that same power for those good habits? What's the secret sauce?
Clear is a big advocate for habit trackers. You know, those little journals or apps where you mark off each day you successfully complete a habit. It seems super simple, but that visual representation of your progress can be incredibly motivating.
Oh, yeah, I can totally see that. It's like you're building this chain of success and you don't want to break it.
Exactly. There's something powerful about seeing that streak grow longer and longer. It taps into our natural desire for progress and accomplishment. And it's not just about tracking good habits. Clear talks about linking undesirable habits to negative consequences, like a built-in accountability system.
Ooh, okay. So not just rewarding the good stuff, but actually kind of making those bad habits a little less appealing.
Exactly. It could be something super simple like having to do an extra chore if you hit snooze one too many times, or donating to a cause you really don't support if you skip your workout.
Uh-huh. I like that. A little bit of like ouch to make those bad habits less tempting.
Exactly. It's all about playing mind games with yourself, but in a good way. By upping the cost of those bad habits, you make them less desirable.
Okay, this is all starting to click together now. Like we've got the cue, the craving, the response, and then that satisfying reward or consequence that reinforces the whole loop.
You got it. Clear's 4 laws really give us this awesome framework for understanding and, more importantly, changing our habits. But he doesn't stop there. He dives even deeper into the connection between our habits and our identity.
Ooh, this is where things get really interesting for me. I always felt like there's this strong link between what we do consistently and who we believe we are.
You're right on the money. Clear calls these identity-based habits, and it's powerful stuff. He argues that lasting change comes from aligning our actions with the person we want to become.
So it's not just, I want to exercise more, it's, I am the kind of person who prioritizes their health and well-being.
Exactly. It's a subtle shift, but it makes all the difference. Instead of just focusing on outcomes, we shift our focus to actually embodying the values and behaviors of our desired identity.
It's like those habits become part of who you are, not just something you're forcing yourself to do.
Exactly. It's not about willpower. It's about becoming that person.
So let's say I'm someone who really struggles with procrastination. With this identity-based approach, it would be more about seeing myself as a productive and organized person rather than just trying to get a bunch of tasks done.
Exactly. It's about embodying those qualities in everything you do, even the small stuff. Instead of just, I need to finish this project, it becomes, I'm a person who follows through on commitments.
I love that. It's like you're stepping into a role, like an actor playing a character, but the character is the best version of yourself.
I love that analogy. It's about becoming the architect of your own identity, brick by brick, habit by habit.
This whole conversation is seriously giving me a whole new perspective on habits.
Yeah.
But, I have to ask, how does all this apply to the challenge we face every day in, like, the real world? I mean, we're constantly bombarded with distractions, information overload, the pressure to be productive. It's a lot.
You're absolutely right. In a way, our modern world is almost designed to hijack our attention and pull us away from those good habits.
So how do we fight back? How do we use atomic habits to actually thrive in this kind of environment?
That's where the real power of those tiny changes comes in. By focusing on small, manageable adjustments, Atomic Habits gives us this path to progress that feels achievable, even when everything else feels chaotic.
It's like finding those little pockets of calm and control in the middle of a storm.
Exactly. And it's not about relying solely on willpower, which we all know can be pretty flaky.
Oh, tell me about it. Willpower is definitely not my superpower.
It's more about creating systems that support our desired habits, almost like setting ourselves up for success.
Okay, so instead of trying to white-knuckle my way through each day, hoping I have enough willpower to resist all the temptations, I create an environment where those good choices become almost automatic.
You got it. Atomic Habits is all about working with our brains, not against them. It's about understanding how habits work and then using that knowledge to design a life where those good habits just flow naturally.
That sounds amazing, but honestly, I think I'm still a little fuzzy on the, practical application of it all. Could we maybe dive into some more specific examples?
Absolutely. Let's say you've always wanted to start a daily writing habit. How could you use the 4 laws to make that happen?
Okay, I'm all ears. Walk me through it.
All right, so make it obvious. First, you got to create a clear cue for your writing habit. It could be something as simple as setting up your writing space the night before so it's ready to go when you wake up.
So you walk into your office, and boom, there's your laptop, your favorite pen, a fresh notebook, all ready and waiting.
Exactly. No more scrambling around trying to find what you need. Now, to make it attractive, maybe you pair your writing time with something you enjoy. Light a scented candle, put on some music, make a cup of tea, whatever makes it feel good.
I like that. Create a little ritual around the habit.
Now, to make it easy, remember the 2-minute rule. Instead of, I'm going to write 1,000 words today, start with, I'm going to write for 5 minutes.
Because even 5 minutes is better than nothing, and hey, once you get started, you might just keep going.
And lastly, make it satisfying. Use a habit tracker to mark off each day you write, even if it's just for a few minutes. Maybe share your writing with a friend for some extra encouragement.
So we've got the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward, all wrapped up in a system that makes building that daily writing habit almost effortless.
And that's just one example. You can apply this to any habit, from exercise to eating healthier to learning a new skill. The key is to personalize it.
This is eye-opening. But I gotta be real, even with the best intentions, we all hit those roadblocks, right? Life happens.
You're absolutely right. Motivation fades, things get in the way, old habits try to sneak back in. It's all part of the process.
So what's the antidote? Does Atomic Habits offer any advice for those inevitable bumps in the road?
Oh, absolutely. One of the things Clear really emphasizes is the importance of reflection and self-awareness. It's not just about blindly following some system. You've got to pay attention to what's working, what's not, and adjust as you go.
So it's kind of like we're scientists running experiments on ourselves, constantly gathering data and tweaking the variables.
Exactly. Clear suggests keeping a habit tracker not just to track your progress, but to really see those patterns in your behavior. Like, what are the things that trip you up? When are you most likely to cave to temptation?
Okay, so let's say I'm trying to cut back on sugar. But every time I go to the movies, I end up with, a giant bucket of popcorn. That's a pattern I need to pay attention to, right?
Perfect example. Once you've spotted those patterns, you can brainstorm ways to break them. Maybe pack your own healthy snacks, or maybe pick a different activity that doesn't involve those tempting treats.
So it's not just about resisting, it's about changing the game altogether. I like that.
Yeah. Be proactive, not reactive. And
Yep.
that takes, honesty with yourself. Clear also talks about self-compassion, especially when we mess up.
Oh, self-compassion. Now that's something I definitely need to work on. I tend to be pretty hard on myself when I don't live up to my own expectations.
We all do. But beating ourselves up just makes it harder to bounce back. Clear reminds us that setbacks are going to happen. It's how we respond to them that matters.
So instead of throwing in the towel when I have a bad day, I should see it as a learning experience. Like, okay, what can I take away from this? What can I do differently next time?
That's the right mindset. It's about having that growth mindset, seeing those slip-ups as data, not failures.
Man, this is so refreshing. It takes so much pressure off.
And remember, you don't have to do this alone. Clear talks a lot about building a support system, having those people who encourage you, keep you accountable, celebrate those wins. It makes a huge difference.
Oh, that's so true. When I'm trying to build a new habit, having a buddy who's in it with me, it just makes it so much easier. You can cheer each other on, share tips, and pick each other up when things get tough.
Exactly. It turns that solo struggle into this shared journey, way more motivating.
This is all gold. Okay, so we've got self-awareness, self-compassion, support systems. Anything else from Atomic Habits that can help us when things get rough?
One more I always come back to is focusing on the process, not the outcome. It's so easy to get caught up in those big, shiny goals and get discouraged if we don't see results right away.
Ugh, yeah, so guilty of that. Like, if I'm trying to lose weight and the number on the scale isn't moving fast enough, I just want to give up.
I get it. But what if, instead of stressing over that end goal, you focus on showing up consistently, making those healthy choices day after day, regardless of the immediate results?
It's about trusting that those small, consistent actions will eventually get you there.
Exactly. Find joy in the journey, not just the destination.
Wow, this deep dive has been amazing. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of how habits work, and more importantly, how to actually use that knowledge to make real change in my life.
That's what we like to hear. Atomic Habits gives us the tools to, take control of our lives, one small habit at a time.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a thought. What's one tiny habit you can commit to starting today? Doesn't have to be huge, just something small, manageable, aligned with the person you want to be.
Maybe it's drinking a glass of water first thing when you wake up, taking a 5-minute walk at lunch, or reading for 10 minutes before bed. Whatever feels achievable, then commit to it, even when it's tough.
Remember, those tiny changes, done consistently, can lead to incredible things. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the awesome world of Atomic Habits. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep growing.